Today I have for you a super simple strung bead necklace, but it has a twist. The focal bead in the center lights up from the inside out. Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another jewelry making video at keepsakecrafts.net. So in last week's Friday Findings video, I showed you this really cool LED light up necklace kit that I received from Anglerfish Designs. And if you want to know more about that, I've gone ahead and linked it in the description box and in the cards in the upper right of the video. Let's see if I have it going the correct way here. This is a clasp that's USB powered, and they also have one that's solar powered. You can choose which you prefer. And in that Friday Findings video, I give you ideas for how to choose the beads that will go in the center of your necklace. Isn't that cool? I just love the way this one looks and decided to design a piece of jewelry around it. Now, one thing about this kind of a necklace is that this is the clasp, and you have to have the two pieces together in order for it to work. So it isn't something that's easily made adjustable. So once I had my focal bead chosen, I settled on the size I wanted my necklace to be. I'm going to make it about 20 inches long, and it'll be around 22 with the clasp and everything finishing it. If you want more inspiration on how to use this LED jewelry, they have a whole gallery of great ideas at the Anglerfish website. And if you're interested in making jewelry like this, I recommend that you purchase their starter kit. It gives you everything you need to make 3 necklaces, although they all will share one single clasp that powers the LED. Once you understand the kit and how all the different pieces work, then you can go back and purchase individual things that you need to make more. Maybe give them as gifts for the person who has everything. So I've selected this bead as my focal. It's a fairly smallish bead, so I decided to keep my design simple. Another thing that comes in your kit are these screw-tight crimps. It's like a tube, and there's a little screw here that you can tighten and loosen, and you tighten it on the wire, and then it's like a crimp. It holds in place. And what you want to do is, once you get your focal bead chosen, is put one of these crimps on either side to keep it centered wherever you want it positioned on the LED. Now in my case, the bead is actually a little bit narrower than the LED, so that's pretty easy to do the positioning. I'm just going to slide this on. I'm going to have the flat side against the bead. The kit even comes with this little bitty screwdriver. Now if you're putting on a bead that's bigger than the LED and you want it positioned a certain way, I would just tighten down one side in approximately this spot that you want it, and then slide on the other one and tighten it down and kind of go back and forth, loosening and tightening until you have it just where you want it positioned. It might take a little bit of trial and error. This is the one I'm doing today is one style that they have. It's called the through pendant, which means the wire just goes straight through the bead. But they have another one where the two wires come together like this, and then your bead dangles down, and that's the pendant style. And I'm going to cover that and how to make a necklace with that in next week's video, just because that's a bit more involved. So you just tighten down the screw so that it will hold your bead in place. So I just finished tightening up the crimp on either side. And by the way, some of these crimps I noticed had little bits of flash, like leftover metal from the production that were in there, that no matter if I took out the screw entirely, I couldn't get the wire through. And what I did is I took a nice hard long needle and just kind of reamed it out a little bit. You could probably use other tools too, something just hard that would go in there, and just popped out those little extra bits of metal and got them out of the way. So there's that. And now I want to cover those up with bead caps, and I tried all sorts of designs. Again, you can take a look on the website and see all kinds of ways. I love the way some of the beads are accented with big cones like this. You do want something that's going to enhance the bead and not overwhelm it. Like these are really pretty, but they kind of took over. and they don't play nicely because it's very deep right here. It doesn't play very nicely with the crimp. So you just have to do a little bit of experimenting to find some kind of finding that will enhance your bead and also cover up that crimp. I mean, you could leave the crimp as a design element. It is pretty enough. It's got a kind of an etched design. But I was going for antique gold in this. And I thought these sort of accented it without taking it over. Because my focal bead is on the smaller side, I decided to keep my design pretty simple. And I just pulled out a few things here. I've got purple beads in different shades, some 4mm check glass drooks, check fire polish beads of different sizes and colors. I'm not sure if these might be too big. I thought I might do clusters of these stone beads. These are gemstones. I forget which one they are. Little daisy spacers, some other gold. So just purple and gold. And these are pretty kind of frosted. Again, just keeping the design fairly simple and probably symmetrical. I'm going to use my bead design board and just lay out about 9 inches on either side. So I've gone ahead and done a little stringing and also done a bit of experimenting here. If you look closely, you can see that these two sides are different. And the way I did this pattern was I just thought about the beads I had and tried to make clusters instead of just randomly putting them places. So like I have a cluster of these 3 opaque medium purple beads. And then I took the gemstones and these larger saucer beads and made a cluster of those. And then I only had a couple more of these little opaque medium purples. So I just put one in a spacer to separate out this cluster of these frosted ones. And then I did another cluster of these spacers, which are these, and some more of the gemstones, and a little separator. And I wasn't sure if I liked having this close to the focal bead. I think this is a little heavy because the saucer beads are bigger in diameter than these, obviously. And I think it's a little heavy next to this focal. And so I think I'm going to do it this way. Have this cluster closer to the focal, and then put the ones with the larger saucer beads further out. And then up here, just a few more clusters. And I think I'm going to rearrange this. Again, it's all just experimenting as you go. Usually when designing a necklace, I try to think of that it gets lighter as you go around the back. So I'll probably put this bigger spacer here. And then the grouping of 3. This is just these daisy spacers that I just put 3. And that's a good way to make the most of your supplies. You can stack them up and give them more presence. A few more of these. What are they? White opal light amethyst 4mm check fire polish. Those will just all go all the way to the back. I might throw in a couple more daisy spacers. So that's just a little bit about how I designed it, just for funsies. Let's take a look at it lit up. Going the right way? Nope, it's not going the right way. And remember that. That's very important for when you're finishing up your stringing in a minute. There it is. Kind of cool, huh? Just a real subtle, pretty look. Not tacky or flashy at all. It just is a really neat look. So now I've got all my stringing sorted. I've got about 20 inches of beads on here. And I went ahead and finished this one side. But it's very, very important before you do that you make sure that you have the wires going into the correct ones. Okay, there it is. Not only do you have to have these magnets going to the correct part of the clasp with the wide hole of the magnet attaching to the clasp, but then you have to have the wire going in the correct direction. So I already ascertained that before I finish this end, and I'll just show you how to finish the ends. If you want more detail, I did a Friday Findings video where I showed it in much more detail. So first you start with one of these screw-tight crimps, and you should put the end with a little bit of a taper towards your beads so that the flat end is going to go towards your clasp. Then you're going to slide on the magnetic part of your clasp, the magnetic tube, and the wire should go into the small end. so that the wide end goes towards the clasp, and also because we have a little spring that goes in here, and that will fit inside that wide hole. And yes, things grab on because they're magnetic. They're strong magnets. They leap all over the place. And then you put on a crimp. This is just a tube crimp like you'd get anywhere. And these pieces all come in your kit. So make sure all your pieces are down where you want them. Now this part can be a little bit of a pain because the clasp wants to jump up. So what I'm going to do is slide my tube crimp out of the way for a minute, get it positioned in the lower jaw of my crimping pliers, the ones that kind of make a U shape. Then I'll slide it down and hold it so it's all just a little bit, not snug, but just so that they're all nice and even against each other. And then crimp. Or, yeah, magnetic. And then turn that 90 degrees and try to get that magnet out of the way. This is a little bit tricky. I'm just going to kind of hold that. Just turn it 90 degrees and use the crimping pliers to flatten it. And when you're done, what happens is when that spring is compressed, that crimp ends up being inside that magnetic tube. So kind of give it a tug. Like I always tell you, when you do a crimp, give it a tug. Make sure that's secure. And then you can use your wire cutters to trim that off. Yeah, hello. Now what's cool is that you can actually wear this without the power source. So you can wear it unlighted because these stick together. And so that would be your clasp. But of course the whole purpose of the exercise was, there we are, to have our focal bead lit up. Isn't that just too cool? And that's how it goes. Now next week I will be showing you how to make a similar necklace but with a pendant style LED. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you want links to the supplies I used, make sure that you click on the upper right, go to my blog post, or the lower left, or the description box. All those places have a link to my blog post where you can find links to this kit and the beads that I used and the other tools that I used. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Take a look at my Patreon page for how you can get rewards and bonus tutorials for yourself every month. Happy creating. Bye-bye.